Chapter 45 of the Dragon Ball Super manga dropped on the Shonen Jump website, the Shonen Jump app. I haven't seen it on Viz yet as of this recording, but it's going to pop up any minute now, and I totally missed it when it was on because I was looking for it on Viz. I totally missed it. But we're going to go ahead and talk about Chapter 45, Moro's Magic. And I did a video earlier where I discussed there were some early manga leaks, and I talked about how Vegeta's form that he used against Moro in the manga chapter could be Kaioken. I actually called the video that, then I retitled it when I realized through Cypher that I had completely forgotten about chapter 40's like evolution Vegeta, or whatever you want to call it, that upgraded form. They actually don't call it evolution Vegeta in the manga, but we can assume it's kind of the same thing. But either way, now we have the full manga chapter out, and I want to give you all my thoughts on not just the chapter, but where the story's going. You know, and just to do a real quick recap, you know, we last left off with Vegeta fighting Moro, and, you know, Vegeta was doing pretty well, but now things are getting serious. As they tend to do in Dragon Ball, there's lots of, you know, different layers to the fights. You know, we start off kind of, you know, testing the waters, then they start to get more and more serious. And Goku quickly, like, calls him out early about how, you know, Moro can absorb life energy, and Moro is like, well, I have a different application of the same technique. And I find it interesting that his magic can do different things. His magic can do similar things, but different ways of doing it, and I do like that about the character. I've said it before that I like the idea that Moro is a different kind of villain. They can't all be like Jiren and Broly. They can't all be just big, tough guys. I like the fact that we have somebody who's a little bit more cerebral to challenge Goku and Vegeta in different ways. And we do get confirmation from Mirrors early on in the manga chapter that Moro can not just absorb the energy of the planets, but also can apply the energy he's absorbed and create it and turn it into an attack. You know what I mean? He can convert it into energy. So we have Moro powering up, and it's a pretty cool looking power up. You know, art-wise, Toyotaro did a fantastic job here, and even Vegeta starts to kind of freak out for a second. And there's energy coming up out of the ground. Like, it was pretty cool how he did it. Like, the energy came up out of the ground, and that's Moro absorbing and using the energy. I mean, he talks about how, with this move, I attack with the life energy of the very planet we stand on. And I like that now these guys have to watch out for the ground as well as, you know, what's in front of them. Of course, they know how to fly, but nonetheless, it's still a different kind of ability. You know what I'm saying? Vegeta uses the flying technique, the Buku Jutsu, to avoid Moro's attacks from the ground. And even the Namekians are like freaking out over the fact that, oh boy, you know, our own planet's rumbling again. It really does kind of remind you of the Frieza Goku fight, except on a much smaller scale, because the whole planet's not being destroyed, but it is being affected by Moro's magic. And much like with the fight with Broly in the movie, Goku wants to jump in, but Vegeta does not want to. He wants to keep fighting. He tells Goku to just, hey, just watch. And, you know, Vegeta's dodging Moro's attacks with it's like a snake-like thing, and then like it's like a serpent-like, you know, ki blast from the ground. And Moro states that the technique has no limits because he can use it until the entire planet is extinguished. And of course, that makes you wonder, does this mean that if there are bigger planets, that he can use the technique for longer periods of time, you know, or maybe multiple planets at once? And we don't even know if Moro, presumably he can't, because why would he need a ship? But I can't say that for certain, but Moro might be able to breathe in space for all we know. I mean, we haven't seen him actually do it, but if he's this scary, you would assume that would be something that can be done. So Vegeta's over here trying to figure out what to do against this guy. There's some really good art here in the middle of the chapter where Moro is like throwing, well, right before the middle, he's throwing this like big sort of tsunami of like earth or something like that. It's hard to explain at Vegeta. You have to see it for yourself here. And then Vegeta just, you know, uses his own ki to dodge it, or to deflect it. But as that happens, Moro sneaks up and tries to connect a blow on Vegeta out of nowhere and fires one at point blank range. And Vegeta's sitting there like holding it back. And as this is happening, they're talking, and Vegeta's trying to figure out what he's going to wish for. And because he's so powerful, like, what could you possibly wish for? And then Moro says, at the height of my power, you would have been an insect before me, and the entire planet a quick meal. So essentially, he wants to regain his full strength. Now, we've seen this before. This is not anything new. Moro's very old. The first character to do this is in Dragon Ball Demon King Piccolo Daimao. He was an old man, and he regained his youth. Now, he says his strength, not his youth. There is a difference. And then in the Lord Slug movie, Dragon Ball Z Movie 4, we saw him do something very similar, if not the same thing. Really, Lord Slug is just like a Dragon Ball Z retelling with some changes of the Piccolo Daimao thing. It's almost the exact same concept, and here we are again seeing this. So that's one thing that I thought was, a little bit derivative. I thought that, another character who wants to be young, but he does admit that, my confinement left me in a decrepit state. It is very, very, very similar to what the Namekians, the older Namekians, Piccolo and Slug said. But it's interesting because, now that we're back on Namek again. So there you go. But Vegeta, we find out, was playing possum. He was, kind of pretending to struggle before he powers up into blue, which he, in the last manga review, I said he was in blue. I thought he was in blue, but he was in God. Here he goes up to blue, and Moro's like stunned, and then we find out that Vegeta was just kind of playing possum to get Moro to reveal his, his secret plan, which is something right out of like a Scooby-Doo, James Bond type of story here, and that was pretty clever by Vegeta. Now, this is the part where Vegeta uses that powered up blue energy, and then Moro starts to throw a whole bunch of attacks at him, and Vegeta's just dodging, moving out of the way because his speed and his power have been heightened in this upgraded version of blue. And when you look at the manga panels, I don't recall it looking as fiery as it did in this chapter and back in chapter 40, because it really does look like Kaioken. And it sort of is like Vegeta's, I don't want to say equivalent to, because that's not the right thing to say, but, it's like Goku's got blue, then his upgrade is Kaioken. This is Vegeta's upgrade. Now, obviously, in the, then there's Ultra Instinct, but obviously in the manga, we have not seen Goku use Kaioken blue. That has not been done in the manga yet. Vegeta, though, delivers a great kick to Moro's gut, and Moro goes down, and pretty much the big twist here in the middle of the chapter is when Goku and Vegeta power down. Vegeta mostly powers down, but Goku's sensing there's something wrong with him, and then we find out, which is funny because the leaks they weren't really in order, but they're kind of looking at each other like, what is going on here? What's happening here? And Goku's the first one to point out that something weird is going on. Something very weird is going on here. So Moro powers up this really gigantic ball of energy from the Earth life energy or whatever. And even the Namekians can sense that there's something strange going on with the planet. They can almost sense the planet losing its life energy because of Moro. Now, I really like this a lot because, historically in Dragon Ball, when you have a villain putting his hand up, creating a big energy ball, he's going to throw it at our heroes. But no, he eats the energy. He just eats the energy, and then when he eats it, he powers up. And it's like, okay, here we go. What's going on now? Moro's henchman Cranberry tries to escape because he gets afraid, but Moro stops him, and he's like, look, I observe from there, don't leave, I'm not going to lose. And now Goku and Vegeta sense that he is indeed stronger than before. And Vegeta, of course, talks about how, okay, this is why we can't mess around. They realize that their old, let's goof around with the enemy until we're ready to get serious stuff. It's not going to work here because the more that they fight this dude, the stronger he's going to get by absorbing the energy of the planet. And it's going to become much, much, much more challenging to capture him. But Vegeta's cocky, he tries to go blue, but he can't. He can't even transform into a Super Saiyan at all. And so we find out in a big twist, which actually I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys predicted in my video I did about Moro's secret power, last week. We find out from Mirrors that Moro's capable of stealing away his opponent's energy while fighting. So as you fight him, he is slowly draining you of your energy. This is a very, very dangerous opponent. And I know a lot of you guys prophesized that, you predicted it. So if you are one of the ones that said that, I haven't said this in a long time. If you're a long-time subscriber, you know what I'm about to say. You are a great prognosticator because Vegeta has had his energy sucked out of him and he cannot go Super Saiyan. Goku quickly calls this out, and now Moro just starts to deck Vegeta, just goes in on him. I mean, just totally Vegeta can't do anything to this guy. And, he talks about how when he absorbs the energy from the planet, it also includes his as they're fighting. So Vegeta then says, I was hiding Moro then ends the manga chapter by saying, haha, I was hiding my true intent. So Moro pretty much, Vegeta thought he got the upper hand by playing possum to get Moro to reveal his true intentions. And he's all talking about, okay, well, I want the Dragon Balls, when actually he might not even care about the Dragon Balls, even though I think he does want them, right? He was just trying to screw around with Vegeta to take his energy. So I love this. I really love this concept. Overall, I think it was a fun chapter. I think that Moro as a villain is working for me because, yes, the Piccolo Slug, I want to be young gimmick is, a little bit repetitive, but the fact that he was screwing around with Vegeta by saying that, and the fact that he has the ability to absorb your energy as you fight. Remember, this is not like androids 19 and 20 who have to touch you. Moro does not have to touch you to take your energy, and that makes him extremely dangerous, and thus Goku and Vegeta are going to have to figure out some way to beat this guy quickly without using their energy. Of course, that makes you wonder how long this arc is going to actually be, because there's more stuff coming, I'm sure of it. So the manga chapter I thought was solid, and I'm so far still invested in the story. I'm sure Goku will be fighting next, but I wonder if Goku's also lost some of his energy because he was in a similar area. They were in the same room. We'll find out. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about Moro? I'm enjoying him so far. He's very different from, the last few villains they fought. Not just Jiren and Broly, but also Hit. And he's kind of a smart guy. And I always have said so many times that I want somebody to challenge Vegeta and Goku on their fighting brain, not just their fighting brawn. So I'm happy that they're going in that direction. Here in this manga chapter, Toyotaro still makes it an interesting and compelling story going forward. And I'm enjoying this so far still. Let's see where it goes. Thank you so very much for watching. It means a lot to me. Hope you all have a great day. And I'll talk to you on the next one.